With consideration to Metalite, Dynasty, and Pyrames, in that order, this is now the fourth group I've introduced myself to from the AFM Records artist catalog, and on suspicion, I would think, considering the first three I'd classify as advantageous entertainments, I think we're in for a similar path of exposure with ALTERIUM, very much perhaps a mutual introduction. Maybe some of you have heard this piece we're about to entertain before, and if so, I welcome your company, as well as any initiate listeners like myself. And as I've said routinely with the European origin attribution, of which all four groups fit, ALTERIUM being the youngest of the batch I listed, in that they are very much, I would say, emerging artist. This track, in fact, their first debut of two thus far, with a couple more mentioned, I believe, that I've seen. I don't know when those are going to release, but Drag Me to Hell released on September 1st of this year. So again, particularly recent release window that we're looking at this group engaging them, that perhaps many of us are on similar footing. But I would think, again, considering the advantageous points of suspicion going in, we're in for a rewarding experience. Italian metal, as well, to be specific. And I've humored a couple groups in particular from that country that I've really come to like, and perhaps in fact, emerging artists specifically. I just covered another one recently, Never Obey Again. They're from Scarlet Records, but they were also there's not been one song or artist I've highlighted here that I've not loved. And I love exploring music mutually, perhaps. I think it enriches the process to provide a collaborative entertainment, especially with the possibility of providing pitches for other music connoisseurs like myself with groups that maybe you haven't entertained yet, right? That we're taking that mutual first exposure together. With ALTERIUM, though, the funny thing going into this, every group I've covered now from AFM Records, again, 4 in total, considering ALTERIUM as well on that count, they're all power metal. To some respect. Maybe there's some other types of intrusions that have been described for the other groups as well, but the official disclosed background describes ALTERIUM from, I believe, their website as a power metal group. It's funny how much cohesion there is right now, even in our early days entry into AFM Records inquiries, but, you know, we have a lot of overlap, obviously, so it'll be fun to study perhaps maybe the traits of comparison or variance along with the power metal application. We'll see. I mean, in the metal scene, you have quite a divergence on sound and application, but generally, again, like I said, a faithful entertainment. That's been the story of every artist, even outside of a European scene that I've humored, whether it be on an initiate basis or names that are familiarized to me. ALTERIUM, perhaps, I will see as well with a favorable execution. We'll have to witness it for ourselves, but I think, again, on the tease of certain elements and my familiarity to what I've listed, I consider ALTERIUM in a position of potential strength. Let's witness the execution for ourselves together with the first single and, in fact, accompanying visualizer for Drag Me to Hell, which, if you want some background of the song, and I don't know, I'm going to let you rely on band's statement for this. They provided a video that went into that. I know of Warcraft or World of Warcraft, I think. Maybe they're not the same thing. Warcraft is what was described. I know of it. I've never interacted with it. Apparently, the story to the song is based on that game. So I'm going to leave it to the band to describe in faith. I might not be able to speak to my official understanding of the narrative because I certainly lack in that. But the name I thought was kind of interesting. I love the cover art as well for the single. Let's gauge the song for ourselves, and at least we can witness the execution there with someone I'm very familiarized to, which is the European power metal scene. All right. Yeah, a funny surprise on entry, but yeah, you discover things even in passing that are just, it's funny coincidences. There is so much overlap, though, in particular with AFM Records. It's hilarious to me. But let's gauge another talent from the power metal side with their offerings and see how ALTERIUM sounds. Not bad. Defined. Good synth choices, beautiful riff patterns, engaging presentation as well. A luminescent introduction. This one glows, and I love the ancient facade with it. I love those subtle spikes in Nicoletta's vocals. Isn't it great? I think it's Nicoletta, right? Yes. They're swift, but they're so precise. The key shift is interesting. The key switch, an interesting choice as well, but it works. This chorus bears a similarity to other types of metal constructions, but still, the presentation is great. Interesting combination of verses here, specifically on pacing and vocal syncopation and musical rhythm. Divergent blending, but it works. There's still consistency in the number, even though it feels perhaps a bit shaken. There's a similarity on the riff constructions as well to a lot of other Italian talents from what I've heard in the power metal environment. Well, specifically one, because the other two were modern metal. Not a bad first unveiling. Good mainstream power metal rock number. Exquisite vocal delivery on behalf of Nicoletta. European names are just so beautiful. In full, Nicoletta Rossellini. She reminds me a lot on vocal personality, though her range is in a tighter window. You hear the definition of the accent intercede with the number from time to time, though maybe the other vocalist from maybe this is closest to the one from Never Obey Again. I'm trying to think, and yeah, maybe. Even though this is largely melodic with Carol, I think that's her name. Oh, I might have that wrong. Anyway, we'll just say the vocalist from NOA, just for now, until I remember better. Maybe I'll look at that in terms of preparation for the next ALTERIUM song. There's a second one we'll be looking at in a separate video for this upcoming. With her voice, I think there's a close association on the melodic, even though NOA's vocals can maybe drift into a yell or a scream. This, I don't know. We're going to see. This is very much an exploratory first engagement, so perhaps presence will build out from here. But on initiation, this is a great mainstream metal number. Similar riff structures, in particular to other Italian favorite of mine in the power metal environment, Frozen Crown. I love them. I immediately hear a parallel. They sound so similar to one another. Where this number departs so specifically, I can't speak to the narrative, right? Even though there is that fantastical application from something inspired by another franchise, Frozen Crown has played onto that too. So again, like I said, similar traits for a group to build out and evolve. And I do think to some extent they've defined a specific foundation. When I consider those verse constructions, specifically on the bridge, transitioning into the guitar solo and followed by the last chorus, but that pre-chorus, that particular section, anything considered in that window, you hear the uneven tone. Well, actually, generally, if we speak in the entire song, we consider the verses and how they transition into the choruses, and there is that key shift. That works. It's strict, it's swift, it's precise. Oh, and speaking of Nicoletta's vocals, the drifts on the end words, I forget where it was, but you probably caught along with me how quickly that pitch change was uttered. And it just immediately segues back into the natural scale of the number and where it's generally placed. Again, defined change is very specific with this number, even though, again, it has the presence very much of a mainstream approach, which works. I think it's a good foundation that we can already see particular elements that might build out from here. Like I said, rhythm and vocal pacing management. That's quite interesting because there's some shifts with that bridge. If you look at those sections strictly on face, on first impression, first suspicion you have is that it's a differentiated rhythm structure, and then it might depart from the general balance of the song. And then when you hear it again, you sense, or just even reflect on it, you sense that consistency. It's, I think, a good illusion. But there is still that general unity within the entire number. This is a great construction, I think. And though, again, I can't speak to narrative in this case. And many of you, I'm sure, I think I saw that the lead singer, at the very least, maybe other people in the band, I know it's coming from her, that behind-the-scenes video I watched, that that she, I think, had 15 years or has 15 years of experience following the game. Some are going to be better educated. I know there are people that are way better educated than me on this. I know people personally that have played Warcraft. I haven't necessarily seen them in years, but I know this game has quite a history. You'd be more educated to speak to the narrative than I obviously would. I think it's an interesting story. It's well told, but particularly I noticed the music. Again, judge what's familiar to you. And the Italian metal environment I absolutely love. 4 groups now. And funny enough, again, so much overlap. It's hilarious to me. 4 groups of Italian metal, 4 groups of AFM Records supplied power metal offerings. Really, AFM Records in general. It's hilarious. Again, a lot of 4s. With this group. I'll have to try and find a 5th case if that's at all possible. Anywho, on initiation of our experiences perhaps with Alterium going forward, well, for sure, at least with the upcoming song that came in I'm open door policy ability to any artist, right, that I cover here. That's a general policy I maintain. Alterium, I'll keep a door open. I'm curious to hear more. This is a good foundational work, I think, for judgment. And the next song, a more recent release, in fact, I think that one will be particularly interesting. That one's going to do what a couple other groups have done in their foundational emergent days and play around with a cover of another group that might attract some attention, right? And that's what, covers are great at doing that, perhaps for big name artists, and you're going to see that with the next number if you are not familiarized with Alterium. I'll hold off on answering what exactly that is until you see it for yourself, but just in case anybody wants a surprise, what do you think, though, of Drag Me to Hell? I'd love to hear about your thoughts down below on it. And where do you approach, right? Initiate standing, probably a lot of you like myself, or perhaps some of you heard this tune in advance of me, and so you're getting the perspective of somebody who's very much taking the early days entertainment with this group, an inquiry. If you wish to disclose your opinion, I'd love to hear it down below. I think it's a good foundational work that gives the group a lot of room to maneuver, right? It's a good basis that is deeply similar to other expressions within not only power metal, but in particular the Italian metal environment. Good execution, though, all around from the group, and it puts us, I think, or at least me, in a good place considering potential inspirations of where the group could go. Right? We're going to witness that evolution together, especially on the second number, right? And get a better perspective rather than just one piece. But I think this is a beautiful introduction to, believably, because the European metal scene is like this generally, another fabulous artistic talent in the music world. Again, if you've never humored European metal scene, this is perhaps your initiator step. Take the deep dive, you won't regret it. And whether it happens to be familiarized in larger names or the smaller ones, right? I love covering smaller name artists because oftentimes there's a draw with them and a charm, especially when you get to study that origin and development over time. And I think we're going to get a good window of that with Alterium. This is a good foundational work, like I said, and a good herald for many more things to come, I'm sure. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.